Is the Northern Hemisphere actually overtaking the Southern Hemisphere in international rugby? Well, I judge these things through data, so I've got something to show. Looking at here is a breakdown of the Northern Hemisphere versus the Southern Hemisphere. All the Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere. I'm talking South Africa, Portugal, Fiji, the All Blacks, England, everyone. And you can see that in 2024, at the top there was 23 matches played overall, and the Northern Hemisphere has a 30% win rate. And so then if we extrapolate that out over this whole view across to 2002, you can see there's actually only 3 years since 2002 where the Northern Hemisphere have managed to get up over the top of the Southern Hemisphere. Now, there's been talk about the Northern Hemisphere catching up, and sometimes I think that's true, but then I look at the data and I go, yes, they have. But they've not caught up and overtaken, because actually now they're consistently closer. Now, last year was an aberration in terms of the 30%, but otherwise, the last few years, actually, if you look, the two of those kind of better than, and others are all in the 40s, whereas you go back into the early 2000s, they were getting absolutely dominated. So yes, the Northern Hemisphere is a step forward, but as a whole, they're still losing. Now I'm excited for this year because the kind of rivalry picks back up again, June, July, right? Because all of a sudden we get our summer tours. I will acknowledge that the Southern Hemisphere teams have an advantage in a Lions year because teams are losing some players. That being said, quite a few of the Northern Hemisphere teams are playing other Northern Hemisphere teams at times, and some are unaffected, like the France-New Zealand game. The only limitations on them are what France choose to leave behind. So, I find it interesting, but I'm curious to hear what your views are, so let me know.